And if I had to be another person to stand up, I think after really going through this, and looking at the files and looking at the case, if I really feel that Karen Reed didn't do this and I have to be a voice that stands up and helps, I will.
We are expected to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
We're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Now, just be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
It was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Karen Reed's not going to fold. Karen Reed's not going to give up. Defense team's not going to quit. The Free Karen Reed movement is going to continue. We will continue to raise funds for her. We will continue to do standouts across Massachusetts, across the nation, across the world to let everybody know what's going on here in the state of Massachusetts, the corruption. And we will continue to get the word out there. Believe me. Believe me. All right. I think we have sound. For some reason, I don't know what happens, but I think that my computer shuts down at night and it might do an update and then it doesn't recognize my Rodecaster, which is my microphone. So anyway, we're here. Welcome in, everybody. It's Thursday Night Thunder, and we're going to get through and go through some testimony today. It was a very long day in court. I didn't get to watch a lot of the testimony, to be honest with everybody. I was kind of dipping and dabbing throughout the day because I was at work, but I was dipping and dabbing throughout the day and caught a little bit of the cross examination at the end of the day while I was on like my 40-minute break at work. So I got to hear a little bit of it. We're going to go through some of Yuri's testimony at the end of this live, but tonight I want to go through Lieutenant Gallagher. You know, I find the two things that I find very interesting in both of these officers so far is we have Lieutenant Gallagher, retired, Canton Police Department, and then we have Yuri Bukhenik, still current trooper here on the Mass State Police. You know, and the theme that I have with both of them is, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know. That's what I've heard the common theme through both of these officers thus far on cross. And I've noticed something through this entire second trial that I feel like, you know, now knowing that the feds have investigated this, and I still believe that they are. They're watching. And what I see a common theme in a lot of these witnesses as well, too, is that everybody is starting to create as much distance as they can from each other. I got that vibe, especially from Kerry Roberts, and I got it from Jennifer McCabe as well, too. And I'm starting to see it here now with the law enforcement officers that were involved in this case. A lot of distancing. You know, I put a Facebook message and a tweet out today, and I'm still waiting. This is what I wrote. I'm still waiting for one of the witnesses, how they're going to explain. Let me try to reread this again. I'm still waiting for one of these witnesses who's going to explain how and when Karen hit John and left him for dead at 34 Fairview. Commonwealth has not done that. The Commonwealth is putting all this information out there. That's false information. That's trying to lead this jury, to ponder. Ponder. There's no hard evidence that has proved anything in this case that Karen Read hit John O'Keefe and left him dead at 34 Fairview. Everybody that has testified, with the exception of the paramedics thus far, I hit him, Jennifer McCabe, I hit him. But all the officers already said that on the initial interviews, they said, and I think even Yuri said it today, that when he went into Karen Read's parents' house for the first time and sat down and had that limited interview with Karen, that she said that she dropped John off at 34 Fairview. She said that. Yuri said that. And it's funny how the story has now evolved. The reports have changed. I was listening today that reports weren't even written till like 16 months later or 8 months later in some certain situations. But this is what this is what this is. There is still nothing that I sit and watch during this trial that has proved that Karen Read hit John O'Keefe and left him for dead at 34 Fairview. Didn't happen. And now we're seeing that the prosecution's Aiden today was reporting that the prosecution is not going to call Michael Proctor. We damn well know the Commonwealth's going to. And we had Yuri up there today reading Proctor's text messages, because it would be fucking damning to call Michael Proctor up on that stand and put him in front of that jury again and have him have to read his text messages as a Commonwealth's witness. I'm telling you, they're not going to call him. But sure as shit, the defense is going to call him and make him sit there and read these text messages out loud to this jury, because it's been set up. And Jackson was masterful today when Yuri was on the stand. And all roads in that cross today, where did all roads lead? Right back to Michael Proctor. Yuri Bukhenik says, oh, well, it was like 51% of the investigation. Really? Really? Jackson threw the book down in front of him of all the search warrants, all the documentation, all the reports, and had Yuri read through that today and said, whose name is signed on these documents? Whose name is signed on these search warrants? Whose name is the custody control of all the evidence that's been collected by the Mass State Police? Whose name is affiliated with that? Really? You want to say 51%? Sounded sure as shit like pretty close to 100% to me. So their story is falling. The Commonwealth has no base here. The jury's not buying it. I know Jess Machado today was reporting that during some of the testimony, visibly, there were 3 jurors that were almost getting ready to laugh at Yuri's responses. Literally, visually showing that they were going to laugh. This case is absolutely failing for the Commonwealth. This is an absolute sham of a case. Karen Reed should not be wasting these resources. She should be sitting on a beach right now. We know who the real perpetrators are in this case, and it runs deep. It runs deep. Hoping for the answers. A $10 super chat says Proctor who? Oh, Mr. Proctor, Michael Proctor. No more Trooper. Mr. Proctor, Michael Proctor. And thank you for the $10 super chat. All right, let's get to some testimony. I want to get into Mr. I Don't Know Anything Gallagher, and we'll watch a little bit of Bukhaki's testimony today. I want to get up to that part when he talks about 51%. 51% Proctor's involved. 51 because he's only 51% of what's going on here. Really? Well, we'll test that theory today. All right, let's pull up this here. Let me shop. Oh, by the way, let me just make this quick announcement, which I'm actually really happy. So I've been trying to redesign the studio here, and we're going to be redesigning the studio here pretty soon. And I ordered a handmade podcast table that's coming out from Wichita, Kansas. I ordered it about probably close to about a month ago. Well, I just got the notification today that it has shipped, and I'm super excited because it's really going to elevate the platform here. And the beautiful thing I like about it is that when I have guests sit in, and Lauren sat at this table, and she knows if she's in the chat, it's a very tight squeeze in here for two people. But now, and I'll show you what I'm doing here, I had this beautiful podcast table made, and I'm going to be able to comfortably sit 4 people at the table. And the cool thing about it, it is modular. So if I want to break it down to 3, or I want to break it down to 2, or I just want to have 1, I can do that. And I'll show you some of the photos here. This is all handmade. A guy out of Wichita, Kansas makes these. It wasn't cheap, and I'm super excited that it's going to be here in a couple of days, and we're going to start redesigning the studio in here and making it really step up the game in here. So I'm super excited about this. It's a beautiful table, and I think it's going to match the decor in here wonderfully. This is the 3-dimensional one. I opted to get the 4-dimensional one. So if I want to have options to break that down, we're going to do it. And also, what I'm going to do as well, and I'm going to probably do this on Tuesday or Wednesday this week because there's a sign maker. So the painting that's behind me is, I'll give you kind of the concept of what I want to do. We're going to put a wood wall behind me. So we're going to have a wood wall behind me, and then I'm going to have this sign that's made, LTL Media, the future is independent media. And then around there, if you see the red, that's going to be like LED lights. So I'll be able to change the different colors, and we'll backlit the LTL Media, and we'll get it in my graphic. And I think it's going to be really cool. So we're going to change the design of the back wall. We're going to have a wood wall, and we're going to do something like this. And I'm really looking forward to getting the changes made here. So we'll be stepping the game up. And I think it's going to be really cool to have people come in and be able to comfortably sit at the table, and we won't have to worry about that. And we'll make it work. We'll make it work. All right, everybody, let's get into some testimony. We're going to go to Gallagher first, and then we're going to try to end the show with some Bukkake. Let's see. Lieutenant, I don't know anything, Gallagher. Oh, let's start with this one because I love this. And I call this the Statue of Liberty moment when he grabs the, this is what I love about him too. Does not see any red taillight. 47 pieces of taillight when he blows the snow around, but he finds the broken cocktail glass. And when he takes it out of the evidence bag, it's the Statue of Liberty moment. Oh! And when you get to see that, I have to see it. It's hilarious. All right, here.
Lieutenant, before you open the box, were you one of the officers that discovered that broken glass?
Yes.
Did you personally bring the glass from Fairview to Canton?
No.
Do you know who did?
Yes.
Who?
Detective Sergeant Lang.
Sergeant Lang?
Yes.
Exactly, Mary.
When you went back to the station, you said that the evidence was then to responsibility?
No, never.
Did you ever process it in any way?
No,
Did
that's
you
not.
put it in that box and tape it up yourself?
No.
No, he doesn't do anything.
Okay.
He
And
doesn't
then
know
now I ask you
anything.
to open the box, please.
After all this and finding the evidence, doesn't go and knock on Brian Albert's door, doesn't ever question anything about Brian Albert's house, dead man laying on the front lawn. Let's not go talk to the homeowners and go, hey, did you hear anything? Did you see anything? Oh, well, we know why we're not going to do that. Because Kevin Albert is a Canton police officer. That's why. So let's not go knock on brother's door. Ask him, hey, there's a guy on your front lawn that's dead or dying. Do you know anything about this? No. Incompetence. The Statue of Liberty moment. Oh, here it comes. Thank you, Stu.
Is there an item in that bag?
There is.
Would you please open the bag and
There
show
is.
us what's in that bag?
Ah, see what you did there.
Thank you. If you could put it back in the bag and the bag back in the box, please.
Love it. I love it. Yes, Excalibur. Oh, waiting for the fucking thing to glow. Look at him. What's in the box?
Lieutenant Gallagher, does that appear
Come
to
on,
be the
tell me
same?
what's in the box. Name the movie. You know it. Name the movie. This guy's fucking salary in 2020, $286,000. In 2024, because he's out with his pension, $323,000. $323,000. This guy knew nothing about anything that went on, didn't question anything, didn't knock on anybody's door, didn't go up to Brian Albert's door and say, hey, dead, dying guy on the front lawn, you know anything about it? Nope, but he found the drinking glass. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yes, and it is 7. It is 7. Love that movie. Groundbreaking movie. All right, let's speed up and watch Alan Jackson hand this guy his ass. Here we go.
So is it the Commonwealth?
Not mine. Or is it? All right. May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher, you have already established that you were at the scene on January 29th, early morning, January 29th, 2022. We've seen the video of the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
So you were integral to at least an initial search of the scene, which recovered the drinking glass you've shown us, as well as some of the blood byproduct that you've talked about.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. You were the ranking person on scene. You've already described that.
Yes, that is correct.
There were also several other officers from Canton PD who were there with you.
Yes, there was 4 other officers.
Can
Yes.
you name those other officers?
Yeah. Detective Sergeant Lank, Lank, Detective Sergeant Good, Goode, Officer Mullaney, Mullaney, and Officer Saraf, Saraf.
Okay. When you initially, let me back up and ask a different question. Given the fact that you were the ranking officer, the way that it works in a police department is everybody sort of reports up the chain of command, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So they would have all reported up to you in some particular.
That's correct.
And then, of course, you report to I think you're the deputy chief, and then the deputy chief reports on up to the chief, correct?
That is correct.
You were involved in not only the exposing of some of that blood byproduct, but also exposing the glass with the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
You were responsible for utilizing certain equipment. You chose a leaf blower at the time, correct?
I did, yes.
There was also, I'm guessing, there was also some use of your hands and or the gloved hands with some others to recover some of the items.
Yeah, I didn't use my hands.
How did you get the glass into a bag?
That was Detective Sergeant Lank.
Somebody had to pick it up, right?
Correct.
That's what I mean. The use of hands to manipulate some of the evidence, correct?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't understand that question.
That's okay.
I thought you were speaking about me.
It's probably my fault, not yours.
No, that's okay.
There was also some plastic cups that we've talked about. We'll talk.
SC 499er super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Talk more about those in a second. Those were utilized as well, correct?
You were, yes.
And you were responsible.
We do have a super chat goal up there. We got a super chat goal up there. If we meet the super chat goal, I will share a very embarrassing childhood picture of myself. So we're 2 super chats in. We got 2 hours to get through this. I think we can probably make that goal. But I will share a very embarrassing childhood photo of myself. All right, let's.
For the use of those as well.
Yes, it was my decision, yes.
In terms of the search of the scene, the recovery of evidence, the recovery of biological material, the use of tools to recover those biological materials, all of that rested, at least ultimately at the scene, on your shoulders, correct?
Yes, it did.
Isn't it true that you weren't interviewed in this case with regard to anything having to do with this case until April 3rd, 2024, correct?
Yes, we can call it an interview. It's when I met with the prosecutor, yes.
And that was about 2.5 years, nearly 2.5 years after this incident, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Michael Proctor, you know that name.
I do.
Who's Michael Proctor?
He was one of the troopers assigned to investigate the case.
As a matter of fact, he was the lead investigator for the case, correct?
I don't know if he was lead or Trooper Bukhenik. I don't know.
As you sit here, you don't know that Michael Proctor was the lead case agent for...
I know he was one of them, yes.
Okay. Do you know that he was the lead investigator assigned to the case?
I don't. I had nothing to do with the DA's office.
Right. I know you didn't have...
I don't know how they assign the cases, counsel. I don't know what you want me to say. I can't say what I don't know.
Mr. Gallagher, I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking if...
I did not know he was lead. I know he was one of the lead.
This is the thing. And look at Karen's face. She's sitting there. Look at her face right now. You're going to play I don't know anything. And this is what I talked about, distancing. Distancing. They know the feds are watching. They know they're watching. They know. Watch. Listen to the distancing here.
Okay.
I believe they do it in a tandem, but I'm not sure.
Okay. He may have had a partner, correct?
That is correct, yes.
But it's not unusual to have a lead case agent, the person who's responsible for most of the search warrant writing and the memorialization of and documentation of evidence collection and the movement of evidence and booking into evidence, things like that.
That is correct, but I don't know anything about who wrote their affidavits or who logged their evidence in. I wouldn't know that.
You're also familiar with Yuri Bukhenik, correct?
I know who he is.
Jenny Bean, thank you so much. She says, we need to see little Brian. Oh, it is embarrassing, but I will share it. I will share it if we get to that goal. All right, here we go.
You're also familiar with Lieutenant Tully?
I know, yes.
They're all Massachusetts State Police officers, correct?
Yes, they all are.
Did Michael Proctor interview you before April of 2024?
He did not.
Did Yuri Bukhenik interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did not.
Did Lieutenant Tully interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did not.
Did anybody else from the Canton Police Department, your deputy chief or the chief, interview you formally about your conduct and responsibilities before April of 2024?
I don't understand that question.
Did anybody at Canton PD, separating out Massachusetts State Police, did you sit down at Canton PD and provide an interview with anybody at Canton PD about your conduct at the scene?
What do you mean by conduct?
Going to the scene, collecting evidence, securing evidence, transporting evidence, booking evidence, those kinds of things. Your conduct at the scene, sir.
Yeah, I briefed my superiors, yes.
Okay, other than briefing, was there a formal report written?
No.
Or a formal interview conducted of you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Tell us when you wrote your report about what happened at the scene, memorializing what you did at the scene.
I didn't.
You didn't write a report?
About the scene that day at the scene?
Correct, about this investigation.
I only did the metadata report. I did not write a report at the scene.
You never. In fact, the fact is you never wrote any report about what happened at the scene, correct?
Correct.
You didn't memorialize that in any formal way on Canton PD letterhead to describe what you did and how you did it at the scene?
No.
Normally, when you report to a scene as a first responder, you would be expected to write a report about that, whatever that conduct.
Deborah, thank you so much. $20 says you just gotta love AJ. He had a good day today. Free Karen Reed. We'll play a little bit of his cross with Yuri towards the end of the show. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Just had a Venmo come in as well. Let's see. Melinda, thank you so much. $10 says Brian, it's about celebrating you in your new digs. Thank you. Yes. If you didn't watch, if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, you can go back. Got a brand new table coming. I'm super excited. We're going to be revamping the studio here. Brand new back wall that will be in. We're going to have a sign made, an LTL media sign. I'm super excited about it, but we'll have some updates here pretty soon. Studio is going to keep getting some updates in the studio. All right, let's get back to Mr. I'm going to stick my tongue out. This is perfect. Look at this. Look at this pause right now. Look at this pause right now. I love it. Look at the tongue. All right, here we go.
I'm not the supervisor, no.
What if you're the ranking person at a scene that ultimately turns into a homicide scene?
Well, we don't know it's a homicide scene at this time. We don't even know there's a crime committed at this time. My responsibilities are to make sure reports are written, not to necessarily write the reports myself. I'm the supervisor. It's my job to make sure reports are written, evidence is logged, those types of things.
Under ordinary circumstances, you would respond to a scene as a supervisor, and you would oversee what other people are doing.
That's correct.
Can I finish?
Sure.
I want to talk over each other.
I apologize.
You would want a supervisor oversee what your subordinate officers, whatever he or she might be doing or they might be doing, you're going to oversee that. But they're the ones actually conducting the investigation or picking up evidence or doing the interviews, writing those things back.
Correct. Detective Sergeant likes investigation, yes.
So in that circumstance, you wouldn't be expected to write a report because all of that conduct is memorialized by others subordinate to the supervisor, correct?
Correct.
But in this case, quite the opposite happened. You were the one that was in the video utilizing the leaf blower, correct?
That's correct.
You were the one that actually exposed the drinking glass, correct?
Correct, yes.
You noted the drinking glass and actually called somebody else over to take a look at it, correct?
That's correct.
You directed someone, Sergeant Lang, to pick up the drinking glass and recover it as a potential piece of evidence, correct?
That's correct.
You noted the blood or the coagulation of blood in and around that area, correct?
That's correct.
You noted where you believe the drinking glass was, in other words, what location, if there were grid coordinates, where it would be, correct?
Correct.
And you instructed others to transport that important evidence back to Canton PD to have it booked, correct?
That is correct.
You also secured the plastic containers in which to recover the blood.
That is correct.
You also directed someone to get a bag to put the plastic containers in and ultimately transport it, correct?
That is correct.
Contaminated Stop and Shop bags, contaminated Solo cups, bullshit leaf blower. Need we say anything more? Need we say anything more?
So you would agree with me, Mr. Gallagher, that in this circumstance, you were the centerpiece of the recovery of evidence and the investigation as it was at that time in that limited context. You were the centerpiece of what was happening at the scene, correct?
And I made sure it was documented by Detective Sergeant Lang.
But you didn't find it important enough to write a report yourself.
I think that's poor misrepresentation. There's a person fighting for their life. It was very important.
When you were there at the scene, at what time was it, by the way?
I got there shortly after 7.
Okay, you knew that.
I didn't know he was going to be in town, but yeah, open invitation to Vinny if he wants to come in here. Probably would take a lot of money and a lot of red tape through court TV. So, but that would be very cool. That really would be very cool. I don't know. Maybe I can make that happen if I run into him. I actually got to meet him last year when he was down here. That's a cool idea. All right, here we go.
That person who was fighting for his life had already been transported and was in good care, as best care we can provide at Good Samaritan Hospital, correct?
That is correct.
So certainly you're not excusing away the idea that you didn't memorialize your conduct because you were too busy fighting for someone's life. That's not what you're saying.
No, definitely not what I'm saying.
Obviously, reporting to a scene and supervising a scene is one thing, but actually gathering evidence is a whole next level. You would agree with that?
Sure.
Because just to put a fine point on it, responding to a scene as a supervisor, you want to make sure everybody's doing their duty, but the officer or officers who, for instance, uncover, let's say it's a knife or a gun or some weapon or something like that, actually documenting and picking up that evidence and handling it up in an appropriate way, that is all highly, highly technical. It's very important to get it right and memorialize it all, correct?
That's correct.
That's why you're highly trained to memorialize and report everything that you do in that regard in a report that can later be used forensically, in other words, in a courtroom setting, to recreate as best you can with as much detail as you can exactly what you did and how you did it and where it was done, correct?
Sure. Yes.
Now, keep in mind, as much as we know the Canton audit was bullshit, okay, this is something that they did point out in their report, pretty much underscoring investigative techniques. You know, there's no equipment available, which is so stupid there should be equipment available to memorialize anything, cameras, and we have, crime scene tape and sterile containers that we can collect evidence in. So we knew that was pointed out on the report. But, look, we know all about Five Stone sucking, Canton PD's pricks, and, basically washing this all away when they had the town hall and made up a bunch of excuses. So it was a waste of all that money. Nothing really came out of it. But here we are. This is Canton PD's finest. Well, not anymore. Now retired Canton PD's finest. Here we go.
Officer Lank wrote a report in this case.
Sure.
Did Officer Mulaney?
I believe he did, yes.
Did Officer Seraph?
Yes.
And Officer Good? Sergeant
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
But you did not.
I did not.
Who was the first officer to find any potential physical evidence at the scene, be it blood or glass?
Paula, thank you for the 10 on PayPal. Appreciate that.
I can't answer that. It was not me. I was not the first thing that was spotted was the pink spotting, not the glass.
Okay. Who was the first person to see the glass?
I think it was myself as I uncovered it with the leaf blower.
One of the important things that we've talked about, Mr. Gallagher, is documenting the details of evidence recovery, not just the fact that something was recovered, correct?
That's correct.
So you'd want to know what time of day it was recovered, correct?
Sure.
You'd want to know who was there and who was around when it was recovered, correct?
Yes.
You'd want to know what the item is, the condition of the item, right?
Yes.
You'd also want to know exactly where it's recovered, correct?
Yes.
In other words, as best you can to pinpoint the exact location where an item was found. That could play a huge role in any investigation, be it criminal or otherwise.
It could. It could.
Did you diagram or draw a diagram back at
Nope.
Canton PD or
I did
out
not.
at the scene?
No.
About where that glass was found?
No, I did no reports or diagrams.
Did you diagram exactly where you recovered the blood spots that you did recover?
No.
And if this asshole was active today, he should be fucking fired. Fucking fired. That you don't memorialize anything in that scene. And look at him. He's being arrogant about it. Nope, didn't do that. Nope, didn't make any reports. Nope, didn't make a diagram. You have a Boston police officer that was dead and dying on the lawn. You responded there. You don't think it's seriousness enough to memorialize this? It's a fucking joke to them. They don't care. And now all this prick's going to do is get up there and pass the buck to everybody else. Again, I talked about this at the beginning of the show. Watch all these witnesses now starting to completely distance themselves from each other.
Did you at least, if you did write a report, did you at least take notes on a pad about what you were doing?
Yeah, conditions weren't, it was pretty hard to take notes at that time, but I did not take notes, no.
At some point, you mentioned a person by the name of Tom Kelleher, Deputy Chief Kelleher.
That's correct.
Who is Deputy Chief Kelleher?
He's the deputy chief of Canton Police.
He was on active duty at the time? When I say active duty, I don't mean that morning, that hour. I mean just generally.
Yes, he was a lieutenant at that time.
He was someone to whom, as a matter of fact, probably the only person to whom at Canton PD you actually reported, correct? Up the chain of command. He was the only person to whom you reported up the chain of command, meaning he was your direct report.
This is a good point here. I'm going to bring this up. Polly Pockets Power Trip says needs a civil lawsuit. But no, because the O'Keefes, they're too busy suing the Waterfall, CF McCarthy's and Karen Reed, not these fucking people that literally botched any investigation into John's death. How are you even sitting there and complying with this as a family? You wouldn't be pissed if someone got up here and said, I didn't make any reports, I didn't memorialize anything, I didn't make a evidence collection log, I didn't bag anything properly. This is a key piece of evidence in your son's death, supposedly. And this guy did nothing to have a care in the world about it. and they're civilly suing the 2 bars and Karen Reed. Not this guy. Not this guy that made $123,000 a year. Sick. Absolutely sick.
Was in charge of detectives at that time.
And then, of course, the chief would be above him, correct?
Deputy chief and chief.
Okay. When you responded to the scene, Deputy Chief Gallagher did not come out of his house and take over the investigation, correct?
Correct.
That was yours to detail.
That is correct.
And keep in mind, these are the people they're rolling with. These are the people they are rolling with. They believe them. They believe this. They believe everybody that is connected in this case on the Commonwealth side. And you sat there and hear more disparaging things about Michael Proctor today. And they're rolling with him. That's their guy. That's their guy. Jennifer McCabe, that's their chick. Unbelievable.
You were there.
That's
yeah.
So can you describe what you did
Not that Gallagher.
to preserve the crime scene? I'm sorry, to preserve the scene, because at that time you said you did not know if it was a crime scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
What did you do in terms of actually preserving the scene for later investigation? What steps did you take?
For later, can you explain later investigation?
So let me take a step back.
Sure.
Have you been trained to preserve scenes?
Yes.
Okay. What's the reason that you want to preserve the scene? What does that mean?
Collect evidence.
Collect evidence to make sure nothing is disturbed, right?
Correct.
Okay. Civilians can't kind of trace through, walk through evidence, correct?
That's correct.
You've heard the phrase forensically, evidence in, evidence out. Someone traipses through a crime scene, you bring evidence with you, and you take it back out. It's on your shoes or on your feet or your breath or your saliva, whatever it might be.
Very familiar with that, yes.
Preserving the scene is best efforts, best practices to make sure that nothing's moved, touched, messed with in any way, correct?
That's correct, and that's what was done here.
What did you do? That's my question. What did you do to preserve that scene?
No, there were no civilians ever to trample through.
So
Were
what?
rescue efforts made on Mr. O'Keefe?
Look at Karen.
Yes, that's
Can you
priority.
believe it?
So rescue workers do go into any type of scene. Medical life-saving measures come first. Once all apparatus was off scene, the original officers put out crime scene tape to mark an area. And later, it was documented, it was photographed, and evidence was collected.
And it was searched by you, at least initially with the leaf blower.
Correct.
Okay. So you were interested in the area that, by the way, I want to clear this up, make sure I'm not mistaken. You described for Mr. Brennan basically where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, correct?
Yes, yes,
You never saw his body in situ. You never saw his body in place.
that is correct.
You were told by Sergeant Lang generally where his body was, correct?
Yes, and Sergeant Lank actually never saw Mr. O'Keefe either.
That's my next question.
Okay, and Mr. Good and Sergeant Good as well.
Right. Sergeant Lang never saw Sergeant O'Keefe actually in place, correct?
That is correct.
So you're receiving information from Sergeant Lang that he did not have personal knowledge of, and then you're providing that information later to crime scene investigators who are trying to establish a diagram or some sort of a chart about where that evidence was, where the drinking glass was, where his body was, correct?
No, I never spoke to anybody
Give a shit.
in that manner about that.
Didn't you ultimately go out to the scene along with others at Massachusetts State Police when they had drone overhead?
No, you're mistaken. I can clarify it for you if you wish.
Sure.
So on February 1st, after the execution of the warrant, they wanted to go down to the scene. It was Trooper Proctor and somebody from the CARS team. I'm not sure of the name. Once they got down there, I did show them where I was shown John O'Keefe was. They did want to put up a drone, but they could not do it because they were too close to Norwood Airport and because of FAA regulations.
Okay.
And that was the last of my involvement.
Okay.
With
So-
that. I hope that clarifies things for you.
Forget the drone.
Guys up.
I'm interested in the first part, which was you accompanied Trooper Proctor to the
Correct.
scene, correct?
What's
Correct.
the fucking music I'm hearing right now? What is the music on this broadcast?
There were other members of CARS, CARS.
I think there was one. Crash accident reconstruction section.
Am I hearing music?
Okay, so it's a forensic, a member of NSP who does forensic diagrams, correct?
I would say. I don't know if they do diagrams. I don't know what they do.
Or reconstruction, some sort.
Sure, reconstruction of some sort.
So you were there to help provide information about where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
And be a Canton police officer present in case any neighbors had come out.
So you were there to help provide information about, or at least you did provide information to them about where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found.
Oh, sure, yes.
Except you didn't see Mr. O'Keefe's body, did you?
No, I did not.
So that was a guess on your part.
It wasn't. It was what I was shown. It's the information I had.
Yeah, it was the information you were told by Sergeant Lang, correct?
Yes,
Who also didn't see John O'Keefe in place on the ground at 34 area, correct?
So drones are good to be used for any type of drone mapping, anything like that, to get up and look at an area that's around, that specific house. Maybe there could be a suspect out, behind the house, someone that they couldn't see, or if they were going to do any type of drone mapping. I've seen examples of drone mapping in a case that I followed of a young lady that went missing out in Arizona, Chelsea Grimm. And the gentleman that I had on, his name was Steve Fisher. He was the lead private investigator in her case and went out into Arizona in the area of, and I forget the name of the park that she went missing in, but it was a national wildlife park that she went missing in. And he went out and actually drone mapped the area so they could get a larger view and scale as to what the surrounding was around there. So that's why people use drones. It's just a lot easier to get up above the trees and see anything. Would have been really nice if they could have got a drone up. But anyway, let's see. Colleen, thank you so much. 12-month member says, embarrassing how inept they act. This guy doesn't give a shit, obviously, doesn't care about a fallen police officer, doesn't want anything to do with it. And I talked this about the beginning of the show. Distance, distance, distance. All these people are going to start distancing themselves from everybody. You're going to see it. 499er from Sue. Thank you, Sue. This is so unbelievable, embarrassing that all these men in blue have no guilt and are all lying on the stand. I completely agree. We're very, very close to that super chat goal. And if we get it, I'm going to show a very, very embarrassing photo of myself when I was a young man, a very young man. All right, let's go to Gal.
That's correct, yes.
So his would be a guess also, correct?
Well, we're going backwards. So he was told by Sergeant Good and et cetera. So it was information passed along, which is what police officers do.
Right. But the police officer who was out there at the scene, who was helping the reconstructionist establish a formal report, and the CARS report was an officer who not only didn't see where John O'Keefe's body was, you got information about where John's body was from someone who didn't see it either. Right? Can we at least agree on that?
You have to go back to the beginning. I didn't understand the beginning of that question.
Sure, I'll try again. The point is, Mr. Gallagher, you happen to be tapped as the person who is going to assist the CARS folks, the MSP, in creating their CARS, ultimately their CARS report.
No.
Isn't it true that you accompanied Trooper Proctor and members of the CARS unit to document Fairview Road and the scene of the incident?
Yeah, I thought I explained it could not be done.
Okay.
So I only went to show them where Mr. O'Keefe was and in case any neighbors came out. I wasn't there to assist in any documentation.
So what'd you do? You roll up and you go, I think he was there. You didn't write anything down. You didn't memorialize anything. You didn't take any photographs. You didn't write a report. You just show up and go, he was right there. That's where he was, right there. He didn't mark anything. Didn't put a marker down. Didn't put one of those numbered markers down. Cone, solo cup. They had fucking solo cups to get the blood. Couldn't flip one down on the ground and say, that's where he was. He's probably over there somewhere. That's where he was. Looks good, right?
At all.
You were there. You know who Brian Tully is?
I do.
Have you reviewed Brian Tully's report?
I have not. You showed me one section of it.
Is it true that what you actually told Brian Tully is that you went with Trooper Proctor and you already shaking your head now? I didn't finish the question.
No.
I got that part wrong. You accompanied Trooper Proctor?
No, what's wrong is I was interviewed by Lieutenant Tully. That was a meeting I had with Prosecutor Lally.
Okay.
Trooper Tully was present. Trooper Tully never asked me any questions. I don't recall Trooper Tully ever asking me a question, sir.
So let me be a little bit more defined. So in Trooper Tully's report, where he reports what you said, you were actually talking to Adam Lally, my colleague sitting up in front.
Correct.
Okay. So now we got that cleared up. Let me ask you again. Did you say in front of Trooper Tully that you accompanied Trooper Proctor and members of the CARS unit to document Fairview Road?
Meaning they were documenting Fairview Road. It's not clear. The report's not clear. They were going to document Fairview Road, not me.
So you just said something that I want to follow up on.
Okay.
The report's not clear, correct?
That's correct.
So that's an inaccurate report.
I wouldn't call it inaccurate at all. I'm just saying you're misinterpreting the wording.
I see. And I'm misinterpreting it even though I just read it directly from the report?
Yeah, sometimes sentences have different meanings.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Okay. The reality is you did end up going to the scene, correct?
I did.
And you accompanied, I don't want to use a word that you'll challenge, you went with Trooper Proctor, correct?
I took my cruiser to 34 Fairview, yes.
You were there at the same time Trooper Proctor
He does,
Yes. And you
yeah.
were aware that the CARS team was there so that they could document the scene, correct?
I don't know what the purpose of the drone was. I'm not familiar with that section. I thought I answered that question. I'm not familiar with what they do.
But you do believe that as you sit here, you were there, we weren't. You do
Right.
believe that that's the reason that they were there was to document the scene.
Put up a drone.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean by document. I don't know if it was to photograph, I guess, which if you mean by document photograph.
Dude, you're a police officer. You know what documenting a crime scene means. Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. $323,000 a year in 2024. It's what his salary ended at. I don't know what you mean by document. I don't know what you mean. Write a report, take some photos, interview some witnesses, ask some questions, make a diagram. I mean, I'm not even a police officer, and I've just rattled off like 4 or 5 things. I can't believe it. I can't believe my ears. Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
I guess it could, I would agree. If it means take measurements, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't know
Did you
anything.
tell any of the members of the CARS team where you believed John's body was?
I believe it was Trooper Proctor, but I believe he was there, yes.
Trooper Proctor obviously was not there when John's body was there either, correct?
That is correct,
So
yes.
he would have gotten that information
From you. That is correct.
So now that's 3 people.
It's probably more, quite honestly, yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about this report.
Correct.
CARS report. That's 3 people in line. None of them saw John's body, John O'Keefe's body, as it lay in the lawn with the car.
That is correct, yes.
And there's no photographs.
Yeah, real quick. Here's a Google definition. I asked Google, what does it mean to document a crime scene? Documenting a crime scene means creating a comprehensive and accurate record of everything at the scene, including the condition, evidence, and surrounding details. This is critical for investigations to reconstruct the events that occurred and to present evidence in court. Pretty simple explanation, right, folks? Pretty simple. And Mr. Retired, what was his career? 20 years, over 20 years, 323,000, doesn't know what it means to document a crime scene. You got to be kidding me.
Of Mr. O'Keefe.
Oh, no.
At the location.
No, we wouldn't, nobody would photograph somebody undergoing life-saving measures. Wouldn't be appropriate.
There's no video specifically.
They wouldn't take video of somebody undergoing life-saving measurements.
There's no body cam.
We don't have body cameras.
There's no dash cam that shows it.
Well, dash cameras would be on the road. Mr. O'Keefe was approximately 8 to 10 feet off the road.
Well, hang on a second.
Why you keep looking at the jury, jerk off? Polly Pocket Power Trip, thanks for the 5. Says, thank you for keeping me amused for 2 weeks while recovering from 2 brain surgeries. The second day, pain distraction. Karen is my inspiration. Wow. Well, I hope you have a healthy recovery, and I appreciate that you're watching the last 2 weeks here. And let's get you back up on your feet soon. And yeah, prayers for quick healing. Absolutely. All right, here we go.
You're not sure where Mr. O'Keefe was because you never saw him.
That's why I used a range, yes.
Right.
I know where the blood was. I know where the glass was.
Right.
Where
You
everyone
know if he was said it's 9 feet off.
That's correct.
Or 12 feet off. You can't say.
I could- Only approximately. You are correct, yes.
You did meet with Officer Seraph. You met with all the officers when you arrived at the scene, correct?
Yes,
And Officer Seraph had been there from the beginning of the morning.
yes.
Officer Seraph didn't report to you at that time any statements attributable to my client, did
He
he?
did not know.
You later went back to 34 Fairview with Sergeant Lank,
That's correct.
and you rode back. Did you ride back to Kenton PD with Sergeant Lank or separate cruisers?
Which time? I
I'm sorry.
apologize.
That's a vague question on my part. You went back to 34 Fairview with just Officer Lank, and you described the circumstance in which you went in, you were let in by Brian Albert. He went to the kitchen. You were in the family room or some other place.
Right by the kitchen, yeah.
Right by
the
the
room
kitchen.
off the kitchen, yes.
Okay, so right next to where he was interviewing
That's correct.
Jennifer McCabe.
Yes.
Did you ride back from that meeting with, or that event to Kenton PD with Sergeant Lank?
Yes.
And Sergeant Lank didn't say anything to you about his interview with Jennifer McCabe at that time.
I don't recall our conversation on the way back.
Okay. And you didn't write a report about any conversation that you had with Officer Seraph. You didn't write a report about any conversation you had with Sergeant Lank.
No, they're responsible for writing their own reports.
Got it.
Well, you didn't write one.
You did say that. Let me back up and ask a different question. You testified about a year ago in another proceeding You talked a little bit about the evidence collection of the biological material, the blood, I'm guessing at that time, presumed blood. You haven't done any testing.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
But you assumed it was blood just because of your experience and it looked like it could be blood.
That's correct.
How far were you from Canton PD, approximately?
Mile and a half.
You had your cruiser with you.
I had my personal vehicle with me.
Your personal vehicle. In other words, you were an ambulance where you could get from point A to point B if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was the scene supervisor. I wasn't leaving the scene.
Okay. But you also had subordinate folks at the scene that you could have dispatched had you wanted to.
Correct.
They all had cruisers.
Yes, they did.
Or personal vehicles, I'm not sure which.
I'm sorry?
Or personal vehicles, I'm not sure which.
I was the only one with a personal vehicle. Detective Sergeant Lank had a Toyota Tundra pickup truck that is not marked, but it's assigned to our detective unit.
So if you wish to, as a ranking officer at the scene, you could have dispatched one or more of those officers to run an errand to go do something in furtherance of the investigation as you wanted to.
Yeah, I actually did that.
Okay, you did. What did you do in that regard?
Remember, I sent Sergeant Good to get the leaf blower.
Got it. You also know that Canton PD has evidence collection bags at Canton PD.
Yes.
You also know that they have materials and tools to gather biological material, correct?
We do have swabs, yes.
And those swabs go in little containers to maintain their sanitary nature, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
In other words, if you see a blood stain, you don't just walk up with a Kleenex that's fine on the ground and wipe it up. There's a blood stain. There's a process for gathering that type of evidence, correct?
Sure. If you're looking for DNA, you can use a bloody Kleenex, to your point.
It'd be kind of an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. My point exactly.
But if you're a mile from the Canton PD,
Yeah.
you could have gone back and done a swab.
Could have.
But you didn't.
Didn't want to because of the weather, because you just said because it's an emergency, and we thought it was an emergency there. I mean, the storm was coming down terribly, and I believe if we didn't collect that biological matter, we weren't going to get that biological matter.
But Canton PD was a mile and a half away.
All right, I'm not going to refer to this scene anymore. I talked about this with, or this part in court, not this scene. I'm talking like I'm watching a movie. I feel like I am watching a movie. But I did a breakdown of my opinion of what was going on here. And I basically talked about this with Jason Broyles the other day, not Haley Walbricht, when we went through this testimony. And I have a video up, and I think right now it's probably got over 31,000 views on it. And I am eating shit in that video right now because I gave my opinion. I think personally that during this back and forth in court, this part of AJ and Gallagher going back and forth, I think he gave Gallagher a little bit of a too much rope, and he had to reel him back in. And it was due to that emergency situation. You did everything you could. He said, we did everything. He goes, you did everything you could in an emergency situation. And I noticed that after all of this, Karen, and you can see her right now, she's writing a Post-it note and she's trying to get this over to AJ. And I felt that he gave Gallagher a little bit too much of a rope, but he ends up getting him reeled back in when he nails him on the containers that he used and how they were not sterile. And I think that he came back. And honestly, when I get the opportunity to talk to AJ again in person, I'm going to ask him about this and ask his opinion. Did you slip a little bit there? I got so much shit for this. But listen, like, I just see things and I break it down, and I could be wrong, right? We can be wrong, but I love the discourse. That's why I put these things out so we can talk about it. We can challenge it. It makes everybody's brain think, but it's just like people get nasty. I thought it was funny. Like, it's like, oh, well, it was almost like the Reed defense team is untouchable. You can't see anything bad. I wasn't saying anything bad. I was being a little bit critical and making an observation, and I could be wrong. But AJ came back and smashed it and ended up reeling it back in and gave it right back to Gallagher. So that is my analysis and breakdown of that. All right, let's play.
In a blizzard.
Well, still, in a blizzard, I feel like it's 3 minutes in good weather, probably 4, 5, 6 minutes in a blizzard, correct?
I'm not sure.
So let's call it 12, 15 minutes. You certainly could have gone back. If you wanted to, you could have dispatched one of your officers to go back and get swabs.
Karen trying to pass the Post-it note.
Sure. And I believed 15 minutes would have made a difference.
And what you did instead is, 15 minutes would have made a difference, but you asked Sergeant Good to drive to his house and get a leaf blower.
Yes, and while he was doing that, we were documenting the scene with photographs.
You could have documented the scene with photographs even if you went back and get a swab. What's the difference?
Nan,
because we were ongoing. It was ongoing.
Nan checking in. Nan Gallagher. We're going to talk about this. I can't wait for Nan. Nan will be back live on the show on Monday night for our Monday night, our weekly wind up, and Todd McGee will be back as well. Todd's been out on an assignment down in Arizona. He's working with this company and doing some training down there right now. And Nan has just been unavailable for the last week, and that's perfectly fine. But she's going to join me back here 8 o'clock this Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The three of us will be back up on panel. I'm super excited about that. And I'm going to probably play through this scene and we can discuss it a little bit. But so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. But Nan, I hope you're well. It's been nice to talk to you over the last couple of days, and it's good to see you here in the chat. All right, let's play a little bit more, and then I want to get to cocky.
Wasn't leaving the scene.
I didn't ask you to leave the scene. I didn't ask if you were leaving the scene.
Needed the other officers. We talked about scene security. I already let one officer go. I now have 3 left. We're securing that scene.
So you saw pink stains in the stuff, correct?
That's correct.
And you said, Officer Good, probably called Sean, Sarge, go home and didn't leave alone.
That is correct.
Could have said, Officer Mulaney, get your number to Kent and pick up 10
Everybody's
swabs.
here tonight.
Correct.
He wouldn't have had access to the swabs.
Oh, so now
Nathan Reed checking in. Look at this. $4 says free Karen Reed. Great content, Brian. Nathan, I can't say enough great things about you. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to meet you through this entire process. And I got to speak with Nathan a little bit the other day privately, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this, but I always say when I come in, when I have the opportunity to speak to the Reeds, you know, we have great conversation, and I always say to them, I wish I hadn't had to meet you guys this way. I wish it was a different, a different situation. And I truly mean that. And as much as I've been so supportive of Karen and their family, they have been so supportive in what we're trying to do here. And I appreciate that. And we always have great conversations. And it's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to get to know all of you through this entire process. You've completely changed my life. And you've now given me the opportunity to stand up and not take shit from anybody anymore. This has been inside of me for quite a long time. And now this has been the catalyst to fight back. And I will continue to fight back and fight for people, for their freedom and for their rights here in the state of Massachusetts. And I'm going to quote something from your dad, Nathan. Over the last, year and a half or so, I've seen the best of humanity and the worst of humanity. And definitely when I am around all of you, you are the best of humanity. So I am here. I am here to keep supporting you and your family, and definitely support Karen and her team. So thank you. All right, let's go here.
one of your officers could have gotten swabbed, even if the lieutenant, ranking lieutenant, had dispatched him to go get swabbed.
Because he doesn't have access to the BCI, the office of BCI, where our stuff is kept.
Could you have made a phone call?
No, nobody there would have had access at that time. It was only Officer Dever on the desk.
So you're the only person that could have gotten those swabs?
Sergeant Lang could have gotten them as well.
So Sergeant Lang could have too?
Sure.
But you didn't say that?
No, definitely didn't.
Okay. What you did do, however, is you went to the neighbor's house. That would be Tom Keller, right?
The lieutenant of detectives, yes.
Right. And Lieutenant Keller gave you red solo cups.
Yes. I asked for plastic or glass containers. He had solo cups, and I utilized them.
The same kind of solo cups that we all see at backyard barbecues.
Yep, they hold liquid terrifically.
They're also not sealed, correct?
They are not.
They're also not used normally. I mean, they were here. They're not normally used for evidence collection, correct?
Oh, absolutely not.
And then you decided you needed to transport that very important biological material back to Kent PD for storage and safety, right?
That's correct.
And what was it? Why was it important to transport that blood material so quickly? What are the factors that you?
I'm sorry, I missed this one here, and I'm sorry I paused this, a very important part. Brent Mack, $20 says, reason John O'Keefe's phone didn't show up steps because crooked cops know this would be brought up in court, and if you carry the phone like a full hot cup of Dunkin's without a lid, the health data doesn't register steps. Lauren and I did something, and I'm going to have her try to explain that again on Sunday, where we kind of tested the theory about Apple health data, and it was spot on with her phone. And we'll talk about that on the Sunday show. But thank you so much for the $20. She can explain it a little bit better than I can. But we'll talk about that on Sunday when we do the Sunday show. All right, here we go.
Considered weighing balance in terms of getting that material back to NPD in good condition, sanitary condition.
So a criminalist could extract a proper DNA sample.
What would happen, for instance, if that blood material, I don't know, were contaminated?
Contaminated how?
You tell me. You're the professional.
So DNA is pretty hardy, pretty forensically stable. The only things that are going to harm it are radiation, ultraviolet light, harsh chemicals such as bleach. That's not present here. Then you would have 2 sets of DNA when it's tested, which would benefit you.
Well, depends on whose DNA it is.
That's correct. Right. That's correct.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
While you were, let me stay on this for a second. So obviously there's a reason why blood swabs or biological swabs are handled with such care. For instance, a DNA analyst is going to put on gloves.
Correct.
Oftentimes they're going to put on a mask. Right?
All right, let me just put his little theory to rest here. I just Googled what can damage a DNA sample. Several factors can damage a DNA sample, including exposure to environments like heat, sunlight, humidity, as well as chemical and biological agents. Oxidative damage caused by reactive oxygen species and radiation, including UV and ionizing radiation, also contributing to DNA breakdown. Let's see, heat, sunlight, bacteria and molds, bleach, formaldehyde, environment, the environment it's in. Enzymes can break it down. So there's lots of things that could damage. But how about even just this? Just how about bacteria inside the cup? That could cause a false positive or a false negative or damage the sample.
I don't know about that.
Oftentimes they put on goggles. Is that right?
It depends what they're testing.
Right. But when you go out and collect something, you'll see CSI, crime scene investigators, in full eye suits when they walk into a crime scene.
Yeah, you can.
Because you don't want to contaminate the scene with your own hair off your arm or an eyelash falling into a blood stain, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So there are protocols. I mean, you said just a second ago, Gallagher, well, it's DNA. Unless somebody pours bleach in it, you're pretty much golden, right? That's not quite the fact.
And that's not quite what I said.
No, it's not quite what you said. You were suggesting that it's hardy enough that it doesn't really matter
No.
if it's contaminated or not. If there's multiple people's DNA, it just benefits everybody.
No, I simply asked what you meant by contamination.
Okay. So it could be contaminated with debris, is that right?
Sure, it can.
It could be contaminated with other people's DNA, is that right?
It can.
It could be contaminated with foreign items, foreign either ferrous salts or somebody's spittle when they're talking, correct?
Sure.
It could be contaminated with 1,000 things.
Hypothetically.
Right. Of course, these solo cups didn't have lids on them, right?
They did not.
They were open.
Yes.
You didn't photograph where you picked up the samples.
No.
You didn't document where you picked up the samples.
No.
So if the samples were in 6, how many solo cups were there?
6.
6 solo cups. We don't know as we sit here where each of those solo cups contents came from specifically, do we?
Specifically, no.
Okay. Then those solo cups with no lids were placed into a bag, right?
That's correct.
You said on direct examination that this was a brown paper bag, right?
It is. Stop and Shop, I believe.
Hey, Brett.
And you said that Stop and Shop bag is, other than having the words Stop and Shop on it versus evidence on it, basically the one and the same thing.
Same dimensions, made out of the same materials, yes.
Right. But with an evidence bag, we know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
And who's handling it.
Not necessarily.
It comes from a manufacturer whose job it is to secure those bags so that they are not mishandled, so they can have some sort of bona fide.
So they're not contaminated,
clean
sir.
and ready to accept evidence. In, say, for instance, I don't know, the investigation of a homicide of a police officer.
Okay.
Important stuff, right?
We're not at a homicide of a police officer at this point.
I'm just talking about evidence bags in general. Evidence bags in general. In other words, I'm trying to think about some of the most important investigations around. The manufacturers of those evidence bags manufacture them and send them in a way so that their bona fides, the provenance of those bags is maintained, correct, and protected.
That's the way they ship them, yes.
Right. And Kenton PD pays extra money for those bags for that very purpose.
I'm sure they do, yes.
You mentioned almost tongue in cheek, look, except for the price, they're probably pretty close.
Yes.
There's a reason that there's a price difference, right?
What would the reason? What's the reason?
Well, it's not the shop, we'll pay 10 cents.
Yeah.
But that bag is not really good. Who's? Where it's been, or who's handling it, right? It's got my milk and my eggs in it, really don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they price it because of how they package it. I don't have any knowledge of that.
Well, you want to mention the price.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I'm sorry, we're speaking over each other. Okay.
I apologize.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallagher, you gotta wait.
Yep.
There's a reason. My point is there's a reason, right?
Yes.
That evidence bags are more expensive because there is a way they're manufactured and they're taken care of, and Kenton PD is willing to pay that extra price like every other law enforcement agency because of that, correct? All right. So they're not quite the same, are they?
No.
Those solo cups were placed in the evidence bag uncovered.
Yes.
The evidence bag was then placed in Sergeant Lank's vehicle.
It was closed and Sergeant Lang transported it to his vehicle. Yes.
When you say closed, you mean the top of it was rolled up?
Correct.
Or folded over?
Correct.
It wasn't forensically sealed.
Not at that time, no.
There was no evidence tape that went on it.
Not at that time, no.
Matter of fact, the cups were still open and could slosh around.
Uh,
Assume they melted.
yes.
There's liquid blood and liquid water, like
That's
snow.
That's correct.
I am so glad that the fence went down this road and and discussing this over the last couple of months with Todd McGee. He said there's so much more meat on the bone here that they could pick at, and they're doing it. And I love this because they're putting in that jury's head that evidence was not collected properly at this scene. The evidence was not collected properly at the scene. It's all been contaminated, and you've seen it yourself. Look, when they were doing the leaf blowing, there was footprints everywhere. People had walked through that entire scene. It is completely contaminated. And this is like, I just was pounding my fist on this table. You need to expose the collection of this evidence. And I've talked about the OJ Netflix special. I'm not going to go over it again, but you all know. It's where I got this idea. And I just kept pounding it home. And I'm like, please, I hope someone from the defense team is listening. Expose these fuckers. They contaminated everything. They didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit. All they cared about was protecting the people inside 34 Fairview that night, knowing that they wouldn't go down for this. And they were going to use someone that didn't have any family ties, that they had met just briefly. And what is the wording? What is the statement? Pin it on the girl. Pin it on the girl. Don't say the guy came into the house. That was the excuse. That's what they were going to use. And that's what they did use. And that's why Karen Reed is in this situation. It's all bullshit. Their stories are all starting to fall apart. The Commonwealth has no case. I haven't seen one fucking witness on that stand yet. Tell us how Karen Reed hit John and left him there for dead at 34 Fairview. Have you heard it? I haven't heard it. They're not going to be able to explain it. And then we're going to get ARCA up on the stand. That's going to completely demolish the Commonwealth's theory. You think that Trooper Paul is going to be able to go up against ARCA? They're going to bring that moron back? They're going to crush. All right. I'm going to give everybody a choice here. We're halfway through the show right now. I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want me to continue with Gallagher, or do you want me to move on to Bukhenik? So if you want Gallagher, put a G in the chat. If you want Bukhenik, throw a B in that chat. So I will move along here. I just want to play a little bit of the testimony. So it's your show. This is Thursday Night Thunder. It's your show. You let me know. All right, we're seeing a lot of B's. All right. I think we're going to see a lot of B's here. All right, let's go to Bukhenik. Let's go to Bukhenik. But before we go to Bukhenik, we've got to play this. we've got to play this as the intro because I love it. I know you all love it. And oh God, this was the greatest moment ever in trial 1. Here we go.
All right. In any case, you were interviewed at 5:30 p.m. on February.
Oh,
And what, if anything, did Kaylee say?
That John didn't come home.
all right.
All right. In any case, you were interviewed at 5:30 p.m. on February 10th, correct?
Correct.
Where did that interview take place?
At my home in Canton.
Who was present for that interview?
Me, my husband, Trooper Proctor, and Trooper Bukhenik.
Ah, she said Bukaki. I love it. All right, let's go on to Yuri. Big bad Yuri. Yuri. Here we go. Shred him, AJ. Give him hell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good
She
afternoon,
is
Sergeant
so
Bukhenik.
banged up, bro.
Good afternoon, sir.
I literally think like she's the same age as me. She is banged up, bro. Banged up. There's the video of when when Turtle Boy met her for the first time. Not the one when she pushed him and all that, but there's an earlier video of that. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that's true." Oh man, she's banged up, bro. She's been hanging out at fucking Seath McCarthy's too much. All right.
I want to talk to you for a
That's some
second
hard nights, I can tell you right there. All right.
about roles
Get him, AJ!
in this case, in this investigation. Would you agree with me that Michael Proctor was the lead investigator as well as the case agent in charge of this case?
He was assigned as the case officer for the case.
In that position, given the fact that
Oh, that's right. It was Gildan.
would you
I'm
agree
sorry.
with me that he had a leadership role
Right.
insofar as the investigation of the case was
They
concerned?
both look the same. They both look the same. I got them confused. They both literally look the same. They're
call it
both banged up. There's some hard nights.
Leadership role. It's more of a facilitator, liaison between the DA's personnel within the office and the state police. He also helps facilitate any missions, outstanding tasks that need to be completed.
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
He did, yes, that would be myself.
That would be you.
Yes.
Every case has some lead trooper in your unit, correct? Every case is assigned to someone to sort of be in charge and lead the charge of the investigation. Is that right?
Every case has a case officer that manages the investigation.
Right. And managing the investigation doesn't mean just, typing up schedules. It means actually managing the investigation, like deciding what search warrants are going to be written in certain circumstances. That's one example, correct?
They're responsible for writing and authoring those search warrants. Sometimes the recommendation, suggestion, or leadership comes from the supervisors or the DA staff where their experience might dictate otherwise.
And sometimes it comes from the lead case agent himself or herself, correct?
At times, yes.
Every team, even back when you were in the military, you were on many teams in the Marine Corps, correct?
I'm sorry, you were facing away from me. I couldn't hear you.
Every team, including back in the time you were in the military, back in the time you were in the Marine Corps, every team has multiple individuals involved in that team, correct? That's the whole point of a team, multiple people.
All right, let me pause this really quick. $5. Let's see. We'll read for you $5 for sunscreen. I appreciate that. I think we're only one super chat away from hitting our goal tonight. And then we'll show an embarrassing photo of myself when I was a teen. All right, let's go.
Correct?
I would agree with you that a team consists of more than one person.
And it has to be some sort of echelon of leadership on that team, correct? Everybody's not just an co-equal, correct?
We might have different duties, responsibilities, but some teams have equal rank. Yeah.
But there's going to be a team leader, right? That's a military phrase, team leader.
Yes, there is a team leader in the Marine Corps, in the rifle platoon, but not every team has a leader.
Did the team in this case, in this investigation, have a leader? Someone who was assigned as the lead case agent? Not just another officer, not just another detective, but the lead case agent.
The case officer for the investigation was Michael Proctor.
But you don't want to say lead case agent or case officer, correct?
I refer to that billet as case officer.
your responsibility as the supervisor over this particular case officer is, or any other case officer that you might have, or any other trooper that you might have under your supervision, your responsibility in no small part is to supervise the individuals under your command to ensure that the case is adequately investigated, it's properly investigated. That's part of your role as a supervisor, correct?
That is one of my many responsibilities, yes.
It's partly because you have more experience, I'm guessing, than the people under your charge. Is that right?
Certainly in my position, but there are many instances where a sergeant might have less experience than a well-seasoned trooper that's been in the office for 15 to 20 years. So
fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm going to pause this really quick. All right, we got there. $5 from Scooter 54. Oh, boy. Brit happens. Another $5 to see the damn photo. All right, time to embarrass myself here. Oh, God. I had a mullet. I had a mullet. I had a mullet. And that's my Mike McGill skateboard. I was business in the front and party in the back. I had a mullet. And that is my cherished Mike McGill's Power Peralta skateboard. Oh, I love you guys. I love the nights when we do this. We could kind of just joke around a little bit and let our hair down, let my hair down here. And this is good stuff. We had another super chat come in to try to break the goal. Holly, thanks for the $10. So get your screenshot now. This is me. And that was me. And oh God, the fishing poles, the socks, the sweatpants. Oh, I love it. Good stuff. All right, let's go back to Bukhenik.
That may be the case, but under ordinary circumstances, you earn your way into a supervisory role in the Massachusetts State Police through both not just time, but time and experience, correct?
We take an exam and then get promoted based on the exam.
Now I got more photos too, so maybe we could do another goal.
Part of the responsibility that you have as a supervisor is to make sure that the case is properly investigated, and that may include making sure you have the right suspects, right? The array of suspects that may exist, you want to make sure, and you supervise to make sure that array of suspects is appropriate and proper, correct?
In every investigation, we follow the evidence. We follow the statements made, provided by eyewitnesses, witnesses in the case. Sometimes the defendants or suspects provide statements to us. At many instances, those could be contradictory statements. We follow the evidence in every investigation, and that evidence determines who the suspect, person of interest, or ultimately the defendant is.
And you want to make sure that you gather, or that your subordinates gather that evidence in an appropriate and objective way. It's obviously the foundation of a good investigation, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Maybe. You obviously, as a supervisor, want to make sure, you talked about following the evidence, you want to make sure that evidence is gathered in a way that is adequate, in a way that is objective, in a way that is unbiased, so that you can gather the evidence that will lead you to the right folks, right? To the right suspects.
We always want to gather as much evidence as possible. We conduct that gathering in the most appropriate ways possible. Sometimes there are tough decisions that have to be made where we have to either decide whether we're collecting evidence A or evidence B, and those decisions have to be made on the spot. At times it's a time-sensitive matter. At times it's a decision made by a group putting their heads together and deciding on that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the most
Let's try it again.
Accurate explanation.
Okay, you done?
I am.
Okay, let's try that again. You want to make sure that the evidence, as a supervisor, supervising your subordinates, you want to make sure that the evidence is gathered in an appropriate way, in an objective way, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You're also doing everything you can as a supervisor and someone with the experience to make sure that the highest levels of integrity and those demands are met in any investigation that you work on.
Question of integrity. Those individuals would not be part of an investigation.
That includes knowing, obviously, what your subordinates are doing.
during the conduct of the investigation, during the process of us investigating a crime, yes, we know what is going on, because every bit of information that comes in needs to be shared, and we need to make sure the whole team is aware of all the evidence and information that is available to us at the time.
You want to make sure.
So what this POS is going to try to do is explain, like, hey, I'm his supervisor, but I really wasn't supervising, and I really didn't have to. That's what he's going to try to try to turn this table on AJ here. But AJ is smarter than this, and AJ is going to nail this guy down. And I love when the book comes out, because he goes, oh, 51%. It's only 51%. I think it was only like 51% of the investigation. And then AJ takes the book out, and literally all the legal documents of the investigation, the reports that they all wrote, whose name was the person that signed off on probably about 99.99% of those reports that he puts in front of Yuri. And he didn't even go through all of them. It was Proctor.
Sure that I'm going to use a colloquial phrase. You keep tabs on those who are reporting to you, correct? What are they doing? What are they engaged in? When are they coming and going? Who are they interviewing? Things of that nature. Basic investigative things, correct?
For the most part, you can't track every single person all the time, but this is a very serious line of work. A lot depends on it. We speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. So we do our best to conduct every investigation with integrity, honor, and get to the truth.
If you don't properly supervise, and I'm talking about your role now as a supervisor, if you don't properly engage in that supervision, it obviously increases chances for mistakes. It increases chances for bias to seep in. It increases chances that something could affect the adequacy of the investigation, correct?
That's a lot there. Can you repeat that, please? Maybe one section at a time?
Sure. If you don't properly supervise your subordinates in an investigation, failing to properly supervise them could increase the chances that mistakes are made. Isn't that right?
Yes, that is one possibility.
Okay, let's break it down. It also increases chances that there could be inherent biases that are seeping into the case that you want to make sure doesn't happen, correct?
I believe that human beings all have biases, but during the investigation, those biases do not affect, especially in this case, they did not affect any outcome of the investigation.
So I wasn't even talking about this case. I was talking about cases in general and your supervisory role in general. Your job as a supervisor is to seek out and make sure that there are no biases in an investigation, correct?
Absolutely.
You want to make sure that any investigation, as a supervisor, any investigation that is under your charge, under your supervision, is done adequately and professionally. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
And there's a chain of command for that, right? Meaning someone under your charge needs to report up the chain of command to you, and you have supervisors to whom you report, correct?
Yes, it's a paramilitary structure, and it is in order for the colonel to keep command and control over the entire agency of 2,000 plus people, it is absolutely necessary for there be a reporting up and down within the ranks of the Massachusetts State Police.
And you have, by the way, what's your chain of command? Who did you report to back in 2022?
I directly reported to Detective Lieutenant Tully.
Especially, you mentioned this case a second ago, especially in a case like this, a homicide investigation, especially in a homicide investigation involving a police officer, you have to maintain your knowledge, an intimate knowledge of those under your command, under your charge, to ensure that what they're doing fits what you believe to be the proper protocol. In other words, you're not just going to let people loose. You're going to watch what they're doing and actually supervise them, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We are professionals, and we conduct each and every investigation with that in mind, and with the integrity that is necessary.
You just used the word I was about to use. That ensures the adequacy of the investigation, correct?
Yes.
To use your word, that ensures the integrity of the investigation. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
As you sit here today, do you believe that this investigation, now I'm going to turn to this investigation, was conducted with professionalism, with competence, at the highest level of integrity?
Why have to think
this
about
investigation was conducted professionally with integrity, and all the evidence collected, all the statements collected pointed in one direction. There was no bias influence on the evidence, on the information that was collected, or which direction the investigation pointed naturally.
It's a yes and no question. It's a yes or no question. And again, I always go back to this. When people over-explain things, when it can just be a simple yes or no question, what are they doing, chat? What are they doing, chat? What are they doing? You've been in those situations. Abada, 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 abada. You know that they're doing what? You know that they're doing what?
Trooper Michael Proctor
Exactly.
was the person who was the assigned case agent, the lead case agent in this particular investigation, correct?
Michael Proctor was the case officer for this investigation.
He was assigned, ultimately, to use another phrase, as the lead investigator, wasn't he?
I'm not going to agree with you.
Is there a reason that you want to try to distance yourself from naming Michael Proctor as the lead investigator in the case? Is there some reason?
I am not trying to distance myself. All I'm saying is the term that I use is the case officer. We're simply case managers. There's no leading investigation in any direction.
So in your mind, well, let me ask you this. Is case officer another word for that? Synonym would be an investigator, right? He's a detective, an investigator, correct?
He is a detective, yes.
And he was the one who was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police because of his on-call status that night, that morning, January 29, 2022. He was assigned to the case, correct?
Michael.
Yes or no? Assigned to the case. That's all I'm asking.
Well, you said a lot before that.
No,
So
I said he was assigned to the case. What I said before that was January 29, 2022. He was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police as the case officer for this case, right?
No.
Who was?
He was assigned to be on call a month prior. Just because he was on call, he was assigned the case as a result. He was not assigned the case right there and then, because his assignment began much earlier in the day.
All right. Sergeant, we will do this all day, I suppose. He was on call.
He was.
January 29, correct?
He was.
Because he was on call, any case that happened to come in would be assigned to whom?
To the on-call trooper that's on the schedule.
Which was whom?
It was Michael Proctor.
Let me just ask you this. Do you believe that Michael Proctor, his involvement in this case, taints the investigation? Tainted the investigation?
No.
Not at all.
The investigation was done with honor, integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction only.
Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor?
Pointed in one direction only. You didn't go talk to anybody in Brian Albert's house. Wouldn't you think that's critical to go talk to the homeowner and say, did you see anything? Did you hear anything? Hey, by the way, when all these sirens and lights are outside your house, you hear a woman screaming outside. Why didn't anybody come out to help? Why didn't anybody get curious and come outside and say, what is going on? Or turn the lights on in the house and register that you've noticed something that's going on outside. All the evidence pointed in one direction and one direction only. How would you know that if you never investigated anybody inside that house? All those people that were there. Okay. Okay, brah.
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
Sure is. Everything I say is a question. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant? Okay.
Sustain to the comment. Go ahead and ask again, Mr.
I'll ask you
President.
again. You said honor and integrity. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor? Okay.
I'll allow it.
The investigation was conducted with honor and integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction and one direction only.
People are
So,
sick.
Sergeant Bukhenik, you don't want to answer my question.
Yeah. These people are sick.
Correct?
I will answer your question. Absolutely.
Do you think this case was handled with honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant?
The investigation was handled with integrity by Michael Proctor.
Sick.
You do know that he touched or had input in nearly every part of this case, obviously.
I'll tell you one thing that I love that the move that AJ does in this. He makes Michael Proctor's supervisor read text messages, disgusting and disparaging text messages. His fucking supervisor, he made him read them to prove to this jury that this was not handled with integrity and honor. I love it. It's such a boss move by AJ. Make the supervisor that is the person that watches over this person, directs him, gives him direction. Make him read the text messages. Love it.
Is the case officer, correct?
He managed the case.
So he had some input or had some connection to nearly every part of the case, be it the physical evidence, the search warrants, the interviews, things of that nature.
He was one of the involved with collecting evidence, conducting interviews, and signing affidavits for the search warrants.
He didn't take a minor role in this case. He had a major role in this case. Would you at least agree with that?
51%.
He had a role that was more significant than others. A major role would, to me, suggest that he had 51% or more. And with a team of the size that we had working on this case, he did not have a major role.
So you believe, as you sit here today, your testimony is Michael Proctor did not have a major role in this investigation of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed because he didn't have 51% of something? That's your testimony?
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Okay.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes, baby.
You're aware of the search warrants that were drafted, affidavits that were attendant to those search warrants in this case, correct?
Am I aware of affidavits drafted?
Search warrants and affidavits.
In support of the search warrants?
Correct.
Yes, I am.
All right. You're also aware that there was a good amount of physical evidence that was handled in this case, recovered, touched, booked, assigned or booked into the lab, things of that nature?
I am aware of the evidence involved in this case, yes.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Oh, I love how he throws the book here. Watch how AJ puts the book down. Watch. Oh, I love it. The clack it made. Watch. We're gonna go back.
Sergeant Bukhenik, I've handed you a binder, and it's tabbed just for your convenience, so I don't have to walk back and forth. With the court's permission.
Here it comes, baby.
Can you open tab 1? I'm not going to ask you to read the entire search warrant, but is that a search warrant that ends in 07?
Yes, it is.
And it's for generally Verizon records for Ms. Reed's cell phone.
Oh, well, I can't read it.
No, I would not agree with you, sir.
What is that search warrant for?
It's for Verizon records for a VIN number, which looks like a vehicle.
Is that the vehicle, the SUV, the Lexus SUV in this case?
I do not know for sure because it doesn't have that identifier here, and I don't know the VIN number off the top of my head.
Okay, fair enough. Who's the affiant?
Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 2? Is that a search warrant ending in the number 14?
Oh, Nan, is that your, I'm looking at your tweet. The chain of custody logs are apparently redundant. I see your tweet.
Give me 1 second.
I'm sorry,
I don't want to ruin your presentation here.
Search warrant ending in 13. I misspoke.
Okay.
Is that a search warrant for, generally speaking, Karen Reed's cell phone?
Oh, not that one?
The quality of this photocopy is so poor, I cannot make out exactly what it's for, but there is an overlay of print. I can read what is presented to me if that's what you want me to do. I do not know if this is an authentic copy of a search warrant.
Let's just look at the...
So are we, and I tweeted about this earlier, are we seeing some forged, are we seeing some forged documents here? Let me see, is it this one, Nan? This is absolutely genius. Due to Bukhaki's utterly stupid, overly prepping by Brennan to stick to a certain party line and narrative, and Bukhaki's failure to recognize a trap, Alan Jackson is getting him to concede to the jury that Proctor's commission and signed over every single investigative report and requested on the Karen Reed case and gathered/touched every piece of key evidence, one by one, tab by tab, in excruciating detail. Alan Jackson is getting more out of Bukhenik on cross-examination than he might actually be able to successfully elicit with cooperation from Proctor on direct examination when he is ultimately called to the defense case in chief. You either have to completely throw Proctor under the proverbial bus or not at all. Can't have them both ways. Oops. Yeah. Made him do it. Yuri should have just said that Mr. Proctor was the lead investigator. That's a brilliant point. I'm going to retweet that, by the way. Good analysis. Can't wait to have you back on the show on Monday.
The affidavit. Can you tell me who the affiant is?
On this document, the affiant is Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab? By the way, just staying with that for a second, you said you don't recognize it. Do you recognize it as being attendant to this case?
The application or the affidavit?
The search warrant. Well, they go together.
The application or the together?
They go together.
I understand that, but I'm asking which document you want me to.
The document in total. In other words, it's not a search warrant dealing with a different case. It's dealing with Ms. Reed's case, correct?
51%, remember? 51%.
Again, I cannot say from the search warrant because of the quality of it. The addendum A appears to be with this case.
Okay. Have you ever seen it before?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever seen it before, this search warrant?
I haven't read the whole thing, so I can't testify to that.
So this could be a search warrant that you never even saw?
Based on what you're presenting to me, never having seen or not having read all the details of it, I cannot say whether I've seen it before or not.
So you're not sure that Michael Proctor didn't just do the search warrant without your knowledge as you sit here?
I don't know if this is truly Michael Proctor's product.
Think that might be a forgery?
I'm sorry?
You think that might be a forgery at the end of that affidavit?
Well, for one, it's not signed. So I don't know who produced this. What I'm saying to you is I don't know who produced this. The quality of the first document, the narrative, I don't know who produced it. If you show me a search warrant application with an affidavit from court with a stamp, the timestamp and the stamp water seal from court, I will tell you that that's what it appears to be. What you've shown me here, I don't know what this is.
Otherwise, looking at that document, seeing the affidavit, seeing the addendum, seeing Michael Proctor's name on it, no clue whether or not that's a warrant that's attendant to this case that Michael Proctor drafted and submitted. You have no clue.
I can't take you at your word.
I'm not asking you to take me at my word, sir. I'm not testifying. I'm asking you to take the document at his word.
He's
not recognize
testifying.
It or not. If you don't, you don't.
I do not know.
Okay, let's turn to tab 3.
That one there, he knows he fucking was up against the corner. He was backed up against the wall on that one. He was in a corner. And you can see it. His body language is starting to change. This is all, I mean, look at this is all in the fix. They were writing all these bogus, search warrants, all this documentation. They were forging things, fucking with the evidence. Does
that appear to be a search warrant ending in the number 14?
Yes, it is.
And does that appear to generally be associated with ring camera footage at One Meadows? Or can you not tell
body
that?
language again, very shifty now.
It has an email address, an associated MAC address. So yes, that's what it appears to be.
Okay. Can you tell me who the affiant is?
There it is. There's an objection. He is a nervous Nelly right now.
Again, this is not a signed search warrant. This is just an affidavit.
Whose name is at the bottom?
The name at the bottom printed is Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 4?
He is a nervous Nelly right now.
Does that appear to be a search warrant ending in the number 04?
Yes, it does.
And does that appear to be for ring footage also at One Meadows in 2023?
Now he's trying to explain this. When someone's getting in tight like that, that's how am I going to explain this? We saw a lot of this with Jennifer McCabe when transcripts and testimony were put back in front of her face. Remember, she was just reading it really tight, tight to her face, trying to, how am I going to explain this, reading it to herself. This is what's going on with him right now. Holly, thank you so much for the 5. Says, if you need to cover up a murder, it's great to have extremely dumb friends. Hopefully this jury is insulted as I am with his supposed stupidity. It's a great super chat. Thank you. All right, here we go. Look at him. He's trying to figure it out.
Based on the application addendum A, it's the same email address associated with the previous location of Meadows. Yes.
Who's the affiant or affiant?
Oh, 51%. 51%, baby. Let me guess. Michael Proctor?
Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 5? Does that appear to be a police report?
It does.
And do you see a reference in that police report for a search warrant ending in 10 for a telematic system regarding Miss Reed's SUV? And it may speed things up if you look at page 2.
There is a reference to it, yes.
Okay. Whose report is that?
51%.
Trooper Nicholas Garino's report.
And who is referred to on page 2 as seeking search warrant ending in 10?
That search warrant was issued at Stone District Court and presented by Trooper Proctor.
Turn to tab 6, if you wouldn't mind.
I love that you're making them walk through this too. Such a mental exercise.
Do you see a search warrant ending in the number 77?
I see the application, yes.
And this deals with Google, some geofence data, correct?
Let me guess. Mr. 51% is part of this one too.
Yes, it is.
Who's the affiant?
Oh, who is it?
Again, this search warrant is not signed, but I would say this isn't an actual search warrant, but it seems like at the bottom it says Trooper Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 7, please?
Whoa.
Does that appear to be a report authored by Nicholas Garino?
It does.
Does that deal with John O'Keefe's cell phone?
Who do we think signed this one, chat? Who do we think signed this one? Who's involved in this one?
It's a report written by Nicholas Garino referencing Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, yes.
And it indicates that Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone was seized by a particular trooper?
Oh.
That's what the report indicates, yes.
Who's the trooper?
In this report, it says that...
it's Michael
Trooper Proctor secured the cell phone.
Turn to tab 8, if you don't mind. Do you see a similar report by Trooper Garino?
Yes.
And do you see reference to Karen Reed's cell phone having been seized?
Yes.
And that was seized by Trooper Proctor also, correct?
Yeah, him and I were there together.
His name is in the report, though.
Yes, his name is in the report.
Your name is not in the report, is it?
I'll have to check in a second, please. My initials are in the report.
Turn to tab 9.
Oh, this is great.
Do you see a report by you?
I do.
Indicating early spring 2022. There was a CPD video requested by somebody, correct?
Yes.
Who did you indicate requested that CPD video?
The case officer, Trooper Proctor.
And you went and actually, in this instance, you actually went and got the video and delivered it to him, correct? At his request.
Yes, as the case officer, I would, yeah.
Because as the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things, have them delivered, correct?
Anybody's entitled to ask for things, absolutely. We are pursuing justice. We're looking for any and all possible evidence.
I'm sure you are. As the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things to be delivered to him.
Yes, yes.
Even by his supervisor.
Yes, absolutely.
If you wouldn't mind turning to tab 10.
Very, very defensive there.
Do you recognize that report?
I'm sorry, I was still turning. It's the same report.
Same report, different paragraph, also talking about, or the different sentence, talking about a July 2023 CPD or Canton Police Department video that was also requested, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. That particular part of the report, where I'm directing your attention to July of 2023, there was a Canton Police Department video requested by someone, correct?
Yes.
Who was that requested by?
Trooper Proctor.
And who delivered it to Trooper Proctor?
I did.
Turn to tab 11, please.
Great. I love it. I love this.
Do you see a document referencing the analysis of Canton Town Library videos?
I do.
And who is it that's listed as having received and reviewed and analyzed the town library videos?
Give me just 1 second. I have to read the report.
Yep, exactly, Mary.
It was Trooper Proctor that analyzed the video and wrote up the timeline.
Thank you. Sergeant, if you'll turn to tab 12.
He's just beating him with a stick right now. This is so mental.
Do you recognize that as being a November 2023 report?
Yes, it's report number 83.
And who authored that report?
This report is authored by Trooper Michael Proctor.
Oh, look at that.
Does that indicate, and I'm not going to ask you to go through the entirety of the report, but if you scan that report,
51%.
does that indicate certain items of evidence that Trooper Proctor claimed to have recovered on his own? Pieces of plastic, small black plastic, clear plastic, fragment of glass on February 11th, 2022, 3 pieces of clear plastic on February 11th, 2022, clear and red plastic pieces on February 18th, 2022. Is all that referenced in there?
Those items are documented in this report as were collected. Yes.
And those are all documented as having been collected by Trooper Proctor himself. Correct?
Yes, yes, they were.
And if you'll turn to tab 13.
Have a good night, SC. Thank you for
This is
being
an
here.
evidence submission form, correct?
I'm sorry, 13.
Tab 13. Yes, sir.
Yes, it's a copy of an evidence submission form from March 14th, 2022.
And that indicates submission of certain items of physical evidence from Massachusetts State Police Custody to the crime lab, correct?
I would say so, based on this copy's information on there. Yes, I would say so.
And who's the person who submitted the items that I'll ask you about?
It is Trooper Michael Proctor.
And those items include clothing, is that right? We don't have to go through them line by line, but generally, you see clothing items mentioned on there?
The first line is a clothing item, yes.
That includes a lot of what we saw today, Sergeant Bukhenik, the shirt, the orange shirt, the sweatshirt, blue jeans, belt, correct?
Blue jeans, belt. What was the other thing that you listed?
Shirts.
There was a shirt, yes.
It also lists certain items of plastic, certain items of glass, is that right?
Some of those items are listed, yes.
And it even mentions the straw that you talked to Mr. Brennan about, correct?
Yes, the straw is mentioned and numbered.
And all of those items were submitted on March 14th, 2022, correct?
That's what the form indicates, yes.
And all of those items were submitted by Michael Proctor from his custody and control to the crime lab, correct?
That's who signed the form.
So the things that, according to the form at least, and your experience with forms of this nature, it was Michael Proctor who possessed and controlled those items before they were turned over to the to the crime lab, correct?
That would be accurate, yes.
So he would have maintained all of it, is that right? At least at some point?
They would have been in his custody as he's transporting them for processing at the lab, of course.
And then after he maintained control of it, eventually he turned it over and submitted those items, correct?
If the form is accurate, then yes, that's absolutely right.
So we've just gone through a few things. What you and I have just gone through is not nearly everything that Michael Proctor was involved with in terms of this investigation, correct? We didn't talk about witness interviews, right?
We did not talk about witness interviews,
So
no.
there's a lot more that Michael Proctor on a day-to-day basis as the case officer was involved in addition to what you and I just talked about, right?
Yes, there was many more things he was involved in. As I mentioned, that was just report 83. There's 100+ reports in this case that were written. There's a lot of evidence that was collected and processed. So he had a part in the investigation as the case officer managing the tasks. But there's a lot of people involved in this investigation.
So he touched or authored or reviewed or controlled at least every bit of what you and I have talked about this morning, all these items that we just talked about, correct?
He is referenced or is his name appears on most of these documents, yes, if not all.
Of the ones that we just went through, he's not just referenced, he's the author of every single one of them, correct?
No. Nicholas Garino wrote some of these reports.
Sorry, the author of the search warrant. I asked you to look at Nicholas Garino's report to reference the search warrant that Nicholas Garino referenced in his report, and Michael Proctor was the author of that search warrant, correct?
Again, I hate to do this to you, but
No, I don't think you do.
some of these search warrants could not be authenticated. I don't know what these documents were. I didn't read them, so I can't tell you that he was the author. Like what you presented, I can't speak to.
You just made my point. Even as a supervisor, you don't know everything that Michael Proctor was doing, do you?
No, it's impossible to know everything somebody was doing.
Got it. Especially the case officer on this case, as busy as he was, right?
I'm sorry?
Especially the case officer on this case, as busy as he was, Michael Proctor, right?
He was keeping us and his supervisors abreast of what was happening, the next step, the search warrants he was writing, the evidence that was being collected, the interviews that are being conducted, court dates and motions and stuff like that.
So he would do the work and then keep you, the word you just used, keep you abreast of that work.
Right, unless I was involved with the investigation myself. We did a ton of interviews together as I authored some of these reports as well. I said there was 100+ reports.
Sir, you were notified on January 29th, 2022, that a Boston police officer was found gravely injured in front of 34 Fairview in the lawn, in the yard, correct?
No, that is not correct.
What were you notified of?
When the notification came in, it was that there was a male party found in the snowbank.
At some point, you learned that male party was John O'Keefe, a police officer, correct?
At some point, we did learn that he was a Boston police officer.
Matter of fact, you learned that morning. May not have been the first notification, but certainly early that morning, you knew that John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer.
At some point, we learned. I don't remember exactly when. If it was morning, just after 12, I don't know when, but we did learn that he was a Boston police officer.
And I'm not asking about what Proctor learned, but what you learned. You learned that he was a Boston police officer, correct?
At some point, I learned that he was a Boston police officer, yes.
And on January 29th, did you ever respond to 34 Fairview Road at any time?
On January 29th, 2022, at no point in time did I or Michael Proctor, who was with me the whole time, ever respond to 34 Fairview Road.
So the answer to my question, very simply, is no, right?
That's correct.
You just answered this question as well, but I want to make sure we're absolutely clear. Your Honor, may I approach? I don't want that binder to be in this way. At no point on January 29th, 2022, did Michael Proctor respond to 34 Fairview either, did he?
No, he did not.
You already indicated and you described in some detail that Massachusetts State Police took over the investigation from Canton Police Department around 8 or 9 a.m., correct? They're following certain protocols.
Yes, at some point in the morning, once it was determined that Mr. O'Keefe was gravely injured and was being transported to the hospital with no signs of life, and we were advised that he had a estimated 10% of survival rate, we engaged our services and responded to Canton Police to begin the investigation.
So the answer to that question is yes, correct?
Yes.
You'll often work with a local police agency, police department, even though Massachusetts State Police may have statutory jurisdiction over the case because it's a homicide, right?
Yes, part of our mission is to aid and assist local police departments when they request it. In this specific situation, as I stated earlier, the DA's office has exclusive jurisdiction over death investigations, and our office has that responsibility of investigating those cases. But we work very well with local departments.
So the answer to that question is yes, correct?
Yes.
If you can answer my question yes or no, this will go a lot faster. In this case, even though you oftentimes work with local law enforcement agencies, it was determined that you would not continue working with Canton PD because of a conflict or the perception of a potential conflict of interest, correct?
To alleviate any perception, not that one existed, the Canton Police Department recused themselves from being involved in the interview portion of the investigation.
And that's in no small part because the lawn on which Mr. O'Keefe was found belongs to to Brian Albert, and Kevin Albert, Brian Albert's brother, worked as a detective at Canton Police Department, correct?
I made this point earlier with Gallagher. It's exactly where this is all going. They knew.
That was my understanding why they chose to take those steps.
Your first documented action in this case was to call the medical examiner's office. First documented action, not the first thing you did, but the first thing that you documented that you did was to call the medical examiner's office at about 10:41 a.m., correct?
In what respect are you saying first documented action?
There's a report where we can look at the earliest thing that you did, and it's actually written down and documented. You know what I mean by documented? Written on a piece of paper.
In that respect of documentation, I would have to look into it. I believe there was something probably before that, since there was a documentation of us getting notified of the incident.
At 10:41, let me just ask it a little bit more straightforward if I can, just to get to the point. At 10:41 a.m., you called the medical examiner's office to inform them that Mr. O'Keefe, quote, was struck in the face with a cocktail glass, or at least appeared to be, correct?
That is in part what I advised the medical examiner's office, where they are responsible for the medical portion of.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach briefly?
Okay.
All right, folks. It is late. I just want to go through some of this testimony, but it is late, and I'm tired, and I do have to work a long day tomorrow. So anyway, that's what we usually do. Just Thursday Night Thunder. We'll go through some of the heavy testimony and just point out some parts, make some observations. I know we don't watch through all of it, but I'm sure you'll all be watching tomorrow's testimony as well for round 2. And the rumor is the Commonwealth is almost done with their witnesses in their case. So they may be resting soon. I think Aiden reported on that today, and he also said that they will not be calling Michael Proctor, but I'm telling you, the defense is going to call him and shred him. So I think that's going to wrap up. That's going to wrap up tonight. I'm going to be off tomorrow. I'm going to be off Saturday. I'm going to take a little bit of a rest, but we will be back on Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. for the Sunday Super Show. And we are going to actually do a playthrough of Framed 2. And I have to be honest with you, I have not been able to watch it yet because I've been so busy, but we will do that on Sunday. And that also is going to be a Turtle Boy Defense fundraiser. So we'll be dropping the link through the entire special. I hope that you all can join us and we can try to raise some money for Aiden's defense. Remember, they were just trying to put him back in jail. They were just literally trying to put him back in jail. And thank God that we got a good judge out there that believes in free speech. We need more judges like that here in the state of Massachusetts to allow us journalists, creators, to do what we do. And that is to tell the truth on an unfiltered in an unfiltered way. And that's why I think people come to these channels, because they don't want bullshit. They don't want bullshit. And I will never bullshit you. I'll never have a producer yakking in my ear. These are my own thoughts. This is my own platform. And I'm glad that you all come here to join me in the partaking of going through all of this stuff that we talk about on this channel. So let me just get to this. Shrimp, thank you so much for the $2. Says, I like your muff tickler. Are you single? What a night. What a way to end the night. Thank you for that. And yes, I am single. So with that being the end of the show, this was Thursday Night Thunder. Thank you all so much for your monetary support, your support overall, being subscribers, members, moderators. I am so grateful, and I love all of you. Oh, God, I can't. But we'll be back here on Sunday. Lauren will be with me live in the studio, 10:30 a.m. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So we're going to do a pre-Mother's Day show. And I can't believe that super chat. Good stuff. I'll see you guys back here on Sunday. I'll be off the next 2 days. Love you all. Make sure to go back if you have not watched it yet. Last night's live show with Jess Machado, you got to get caught up on that one. It was a great show, and it was such a great show. And I can't wait till Jess comes back here on next Wednesday and we do our courtroom update. And then obviously on Monday night, we have Todd McGee, retired Mass State Police Todd McGee, and the one and only Nan Gallagher, ESQ, to join live back here on the panel for the Monday night wind-up. So I can't wait for that. All right, I'm out of here, everybody. I'm going to go get some rest. I'm tired. I'll talk to everybody soon. And thank you for coming and joining out. If I can get the outro here, I might be able to get out of here tonight. All right, everybody. Bye. Peace. And free Karen Reed. Take care.